Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Justin Lofton. Justin Lofton, for over 25 years, has been mastering his online marketing and advertising skills. He currently owns several multi-million-dollar e-commerce businesses. He also owns the software as a service company, Sync Sumo, and the Facebook ads agency, Zen Fusion. Lastly, he's super passionate about his business acceleration coaching business, 80/20 Business, and his business transformation experience in Costa Rica, where he teaches business owners how to unlock their full potential and leverage his business acceleration lifecycle formula that he created and has fine-tuned over the last 13 years. He's notorious for doubling and tripling the revenues of businesses within 12 to 24 months, from 6 to 7 figures and 7 to 8 figures. Welcome to the podcast, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, that Costa Rica sounds good. Even if I have no business, that's on my bucket list.
My door's open. You're welcome to come.
Well, thank you. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about you, where you grew up, how you started out, how you got into this?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I was there for about 20 years, and then I moved to New York City, lived in Midtown Manhattan at 30th and 3rd for about a year. I loved it there. It was a great experience. My sister lived there at the time, and she invited me up, and so I lived there. And then I ultimately ended up moving to Southern California. I was there for over 20 years, and I just recently basically gave away most of my material things, and I live out of a couple of bags now, and I'm making my way to permanently live in Costa Rica. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now. So.
Uh-huh. Oh, beautiful. So what is it about Costa Rica that you love?
Well, if you haven't been, it's hard to explain, but when you hit the ground in Costa Rica, there's just an unbelievable energy in that country. My wife is from Nicaragua, which is just north of Costa Rica on the border there. And Mother Nature in Nicaragua is absolutely beautiful. And so I got to spend a lot of time in Nicaragua and really resonate with Mother Nature there. But when I got to Costa Rica, it was even stronger, the energy. And it's been calling me there for a couple of years now. And so I've just, did what I had to ultimately be able to make that a reality in my life.
Beautiful. And how did you get into doing what you're doing? Did you, grow up and say, I'm going to be a marketer?
Sort of. I mean, so I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I actually started fixing bikes in my garage at age 8 or 9, I think it was. And that was my first business. It only lasted a couple of weeks. I ended up listening to some older kids who told me it was such a stupid idea for me to be fixing kids' bikes in the neighborhood. And I believed that message, and that business didn't last very long. But by age 11, I started a landscaping company with my buddy. And so just over the years, I've always been, have that entrepreneurial spirit, really looking for problems in the world that I could solve and turn those into businesses. And that ultimately turned into me helping other business owners accelerate the growth of their business to really close some of the gaps that keeps them from growing. And that's sort of what's, fast forward 44 years later, and here we are. I spend a lot of my time helping other business owners accelerate the growth of their business.
Mm-hmm. And what makes creating and building businesses exciting for you?
I think at the end of the day, what I realized for myself, and I try and instill with other entrepreneurs, is that I think we're all born with an entrepreneurial spirit. Most of it, the indoctrination really takes that spirit out of you and tries to get you to follow the way that they want you to go get a job. And they teach the education to work for someone else is essentially what they teach us. But I think as kids, we're actively looking at the world and seeing, how other people are challenged with things. And if we have a particular uniqueness that we can help someone with, that we naturally help others. And I think that's what really entrepreneurship is about bringing, as much value as you can to a particular marketplace to help folks solve the problems that they're challenged with.
Mm-hmm. So 25 years, over 40 years. You said you've been doing this a really long time. So why don't you talk about your program for business owners? How does that work? How do you work with them?
Yeah, in my, for years I did a lot of consulting, and I started, doing stuff online back in 1998 in the early days. So I've sort of come through that new world, and I have a lot of skills in different areas there. And so I started putting together sort of these systems for my own businesses and trying to really get my head around, because when you start a business, you don't really know all the ins and outs of how to set up corporations, how to deal with fulfilling products and services. You just really see a need in a marketplace. You might have some of your own skills, or you believe you can, hire the skills that you need to solve a problem. But then you start running into these challenges that every business owner faces because they don't really have a system to run their business, right? There's a lot of systems for marketing. There's systems for fulfilling products. But there's really not a system for how to actually grow your business and run it in a streamlined way. And so I really, sought out to find people that had some form of systems to run businesses, and I sort of pieced that together from my own experience, as well as various programs and people that I studied over the years. And that's when I built the Business Acceleration Life Cycle, which is a simple 7-step process to exponentially grow your business over and over again, because there are certainly programs out there that help people go from like 6 figures in your business to 7 figures. But then, a lot of business owners, they kind of get stuck. They hit plateaus. And so the Business Acceleration Life Cycle is just a simple way for anybody to exponentially grow their business and just start the cycle over once they get through the 7 steps. And in my experience, has been very, very effective. And so what I've done, what really fills my heart with joy is helping other business owners kind of come through that process. So I do a lot of one-on-one client coaching, and I'm about to launch the business transformation experience, which is going to be a mastermind and a virtual group coaching program. And then later this year in September, likely, we will have a retreat in Costa Rica as well.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that system you're talking about, it kind of works for anyone who has a business then.
Yeah, that's the beauty, is that it's all business basics, right? So whether you're just starting out brand new, and I know a lot of folks right now that were in the corporate world that had the idea that they wanted to start a business even a few years ago, are now really considering that because of what's been playing out in the reality these days. And so it can be highly effective for somebody even just starting out, because imagine the advantage you would have by understanding that type of system before you even start your business. So many of us start a business with good intentions, and then we realize that we don't really know a lot about running a business, and we get very frustrated. We run into roadblocks. We waste a lot of money and time and energy. And so that's the beauty of the Business Acceleration Life Cycle, is that no matter where you're at in your journey in business, it can be highly effective because it's a simple system, right? You don't need to be some major in business to have an MBA to understand what needs to be done to move your business to the next level.
Yeah, simple is good.
Yeah,
we all like
very
simple.
Yeah.
So with the way things are now, a lot of people are launching new businesses that never have before. I know I've been doing podcasts. Other people have been doing podcasts, YouTube. Mm-hmm. There's so much noise in the marketplace right now. And I know you have a lot of marketing experience, and you spent a lot of money in marketing. Yeah. So what should we be doing now?
Well, right now, what's really critical and what's resonating with most folks is really that one-to-one connection, or building a relationship again, right? So for many years, a lot of businesses were putting in technology, and there's nothing wrong with technology for in general, but earlier the intention was sort of like, well, let's just put in the technology and that'll just automate everything and we'll make a lot more money and we won't have to deal with these people. Okay. That was kind of that was kind of how we were, how business was rolling technology out. But now what we're doing is most businesses are wanting to build a relationship with their customers, and they're using technology to kind of fast forward that process. So instead of sort of putting technology up as a wall to automate everything, it's more about using it to be a tool to fast forward the one-to-one human connection, so that the person that you're trying to help in your marketplace can feel confident that you can deliver the value that you're promising. And so anything that you can do, like for me, the thing that folks can, your subscribers can take advantage of is, like, I've set up a business acceleration secrets free Facebook group where I can help people for free. And then if it makes sense for you to join into my mastermind group, I can take that help to the next level, right? So looking for ways that can bring a community of people, like-minded people together, I think it's highly effective. I think Facebook groups can be a tool that can really help folks bring those like-minded people together to help them, whether they're spending money with you or not. It's a great way that you can build that relationship. And if the things that you're doing and trying to help others really resonates with them, then they can take the next step and join some of the programs you may be offering.
Well, that makes sense, because I was thinking, how do you only have so many hours in the day, you can only spread yourself so thin. So yes, you want to have that connection with people, and how many can you actually have a connection with? So that makes sense. So you start in that big group.
Yeah, and I think that, for those that are podcasting and are starting to build their audience and getting some viewership, like, that's a great next step, right? So, anytime someone resonates with your message, the thing is you want to keep that energy flowing, right? So if they just got your message, but they don't really know, other than subscribing and waiting for your next video to come out, if you haven't given them the next step to take with you on your journey, then you're basically breaking that energetic flow. So you need to make sure that you're continuing that flow and giving people an opportunity to take a next step, which might be download your free report, might be join your free Facebook group. Like, give them the next step that allows them to get more intimate with you or your business, so that they can see where the energy takes them, and if it continues to resonate with them.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then you have spent a lot of money on marketing and advertising. What have you learned over these many years?
Well, it's a combination of an art form and really understanding or knowing the technology, right? So before I got deeply into marketing, I was a Cisco engineer. So I built systems around the world, network systems for various companies all across the world. And so I had a deep gnosis or understanding of how computer systems and algorithms work. And so when I got into the marketing world, I applied that to Google's algorithm for organic search, and then ultimately for Facebook's ad platform, once they launched and opened things up for smaller businesses about 8 years ago. And so the key is, like, knowing how their platform works, what makes their platform give advertisers more views at cheaper clicks, and then applying basic human psychology to the elements of your advertising. Again, to your point earlier, it's all about simplicity, right? You want to call out the market, get their attention, create desire and interest, and tell them exactly what to do. I mean, that's the basic formula. And certainly in different channels, whether it be Google or Facebook, there's a way that, slightly different way that might look, but it's generally calling out the audience that you want to get their attention. It's getting that attention and then creating interest and desire, and then making sure you tell them what the next step to do is, right? The call to action. That's really the secret to everything in advertising.
Yeah. And that is a lot more personal, because you hear people saying, well, I spent so much on Facebook ads, but we got nothing from it. And it's like, well, they must not have connected with their true, audience.
That's it. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people do, is that, the good and the good part about Facebook is that everybody's on it all the time, for the most part, every demographic you can imagine. Mm-hmm. But you have to be very specific about who you want to, connect with and drive into your business, right? Because, mm-hmm. You could speak to the world, and you might have a message that resonates with some of them, but you can't try and write one message to a broad audience. So you've got to be very specific. But the good thing is you can reach a lot of folks on Facebook, and that's why I love that platform.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to change gears here a little bit. So when you're working with people, let's say someone is still looking to see what business they want to start. They're trying to find out what that passion is or what's going to make them really want to go forward. What would you say to them?
Well, I think that, and a lot of people are going through this process right now where they're really they've got some sort of new questions in their mind about, what is my uniqueness and what do I really enjoy doing? Because they've had a lot of time to sit at home and think about some of these things, right? We're being sort of forced through that filter to have to stop and really look at ourselves and start questioning some of the things and the behaviors we've had in the past. And it's a great opportunity. I see it as an opportunity for all of us to really start to resonate with our own uniqueness and find ways to express that uniqueness in the world, because that just raises the vibration for all of us. But I think that's the key, right? Because you don't want to go into a business, and I've done this, go into several businesses that seem lucrative from a money-making perspective, but then you get into them and you're like, this feels just horrible. I might be making, and I've found this over and over again with working with people where they're making a lot of money, they're just completely unhappy. Well, it's like, so you don't want to create a business that you're not going to love, right? You want to wake up every morning excited about taking the next step, because at the beginning of the entrepreneurial journey, it's not an easy ride. It's a roller coaster of learning new things, which are exciting, but also running into new challenges because it's new to you, right? It's like a little baby trying to learn how to walk. It takes time, and it looks kind of ugly sometimes, and it's fun and exciting when they finally get on their feet, but it can be a bumpy ride. So you definitely want to find something that you're deeply passionate about, so that you stay excited about it even when you hit some of those bumps in the road.
Exactly.
So take time, like don't jump into anything. Take some time and really think about what you resonate with, and what is it what's the value exchange that you're giving to a marketplace that would keep you excited every day to be a part of that. And you'll find the right business that will allow you to, feed your family and grow something, while at the same time, adding value to other people's lives. And that's when you can find that combination, that's when things are just fun and beautiful,
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And right now, things are kind of topsy-turvy in that there's businesses that are small businesses that are just barely making it, or maybe even some are closing, and even some bigger businesses are, they're shutting down their locations and they're going online. So there's all this upheaval at this point. If someone is one of those persons who likes to just like buy a business or roll up a business or do things like that, would this be the time to do that, or is this a wait and see time?
That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. There's some businesses that are just basically closing up shop, and there are quite a few businesses, including my own and many of my clients, who have online businesses where they're exploding. They've doubled their business during all this pandemic stuff, because the behavior has changed, right? A lot of the stuff that I did before and going to local retail, local retail is basically dead, completely dead. Which can be challenging for folks that had signed leases and physical outlets, and they're trying to hold it together and all that, because the behavior now is working against you, because you might have a great establishment with great products and a great environment, but for so long that behavior was changed while people had to wait at home and figure out what was going to happen next, that they went online and started to create a new behavior around some of those activities. So that's the challenge that offline retail is up against right now. And to answer your question, it's an opportunity of a lifetime right now for people doing mergers and acquisitions and purchasing existing businesses, because there are people that have a lot of great assets that don't know how to make the transition. And then there are also businesses that are exponentially growing, and in many cases business owners don't really know how to take a business to the next level, and so somebody that does can come in and pay them a pretty penny for their business so that they're happy, and also pick up a great asset that they can run with a lot of this new online behavior coming into play. So it's still early in that type of new behavior change where people are more and more comfortable ordering online, getting stuff. And that's been the case for some time, right? We know that Amazon really created that momentum, and the pandemic accelerated it. So
do you think the businesses to purchase would be just ones that are mostly online? Is there other businesses you think that would be a good way to go?
There's a lot of opportunities. I think that there are people that have a lot of different offline businesses that are not going to go away, as it relates to how the housing market or other offline markets. Not that everything offline is dead. I mean, that's just not the case. And I think that there's a lot of folks that were basically close to retirement anyway, meaning they were kind of done running their business anyway. And there's an opportunity for them to sort of say, hey, let's give it to somebody that thinks that has the energy to continue to take this business to the next level and run with it. But yeah, I would say that there's likely more opportunity in some sort of, at least some form of having an online presence as it relates to that business. But certainly there are still a lot of opportunities in offline as well, or just not like retail. Retail is probably not the place I would be looking, but I'm sure there are opportunities there too.
It's true. As I'm an optometrist, so as I'm seeing my patients, so many people say, I just can't wait till this thing is over and I don't have to wear this mask and I can get out and I can do things. Mm-hmm. So do you think businesses where people can actually gather will start to actually open up? Because I even heard of a company that they're going to start taking over shopping malls and turn them into golfing resorts, if you will. In other words, a company can come in and they can have their meetings and then they can play golf, where they're repurposing these malls.
I think they're going to have to. I mean, to answer your first question, I'm here in Atlanta and things are opening up. I mean, you can go and dine in, and a lot of that is already flowing, and it's great to see because, obviously on the human psyche, it's not very, very good for us to be isolated away from people, and the mask is just horrible. I won't wear one unless, I absolutely have to just deal with the situation. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see here. I know that in other areas, like where I lived in California, it's kind of a mess out there. And I just heard that, Arizona's now, you got to wear a mask everywhere. It's getting a little crazy. I think we're seeing a little bit of a second wave of this like push to get us to wear these masks and consent to whatever they're trying to do. I get it. Like, I'm not here to say that COVID doesn't exist or anything like that. I've talked to people that COVID has taken its toll on their life situation. So I know that COVID is a real thing, but we're not going to solve COVID by wearing a mask and being fearful of the situation. That's not going to solve it. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and I do see that coming. I'm projecting that into the reality, and I'm going to make that happen to make sure that we get to a place to where we can remove that mask and we can continue to communicate and connect with one another, because that's where we can go back and create create new things, right? Instead of talking about going back to where we were, it's like, no, what we were doing before didn't work anyway. So let's just get beyond the mask and remove the masks that we were hiding behind even before the mandatory mask that they're making us wear now, right? So I'm excited for that time, and absolutely, I think that a lot of like you were saying with the malls and other local retail, that's just going to have to move on to something else, because it's just not going to be what it used to.
Exactly. So how do we find opportunity? How do we go out and find that opportunity for ourselves?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's one of the topics that I love to talk about, what I call the resonance of opportunity. Mm-hmm. And, again, it really comes back to looking within you. You have to really resolve before you can see opportunity in your life, whether it's on a personal level or in business. You've got to resolve any outstanding emotional traumas and things that are still sort of holding you back or holding you into specific beliefs that you think play out, which is kind of keeping this whole, it's not an easy process, because we were born into this idea of separation and lack, that there's not, enough for everybody. And so, it takes a little work, because the more that you can deal with that stuff inside of you, the more all these opportunities in your life, both personally and in business, start to open up. New doors will open for you, and you will see opportunity all around you. And I think that's the key, is like, we could get caught up in the chaos, or we can be the calm in the storm and see it for what it is, and see that these are just new doors opening for all of us to step into abundance and see and feel the opportunity that's around us. But it's not until we can get ourselves at least partially in that mindset that we can even see it. Otherwise, we just see fear and challenges and pain and frustration, right?
Right.
So it takes a little bit of work and a little bit of backing up into conscious awareness and kind of stepping out of the unconscious program thinking and saying, you know what, I don't need the TV, because when I turn the TV off and I walk outside into Mother Nature, everything seems perfect to me.
Yes.
I don't see any problems. So I'm going to turn off this stuff that they just keep projecting on my screen and in my Facebook feed or whatever it is. And I'm going to go into nature. I'm going to take off my shoes. I'm going to go and walk with my bare feet. I'm going to put my face in the sun. I'm going to drink and eat good, clean water and eat good food. And I'm going to go from there. That's a great first step to sort of getting into that resonance of opportunity.
And as you were talking, I was picturing this place where all these doors. So we have all this choice, because whenever you're in a transition, you have a lot of choices. You could go any direction.
Free will, it's a beautiful thing, right?
Yes.
But we can get ourselves trapped in it, right? We think that we don't have the choices. We think that we're waiting for the external world to open the door for us, and that's never going to happen. We have to step through the door that we want to go down, right?
Right. So when you're working with business owners, are you working with them on this mindset and changing some of these paradigms?
Yeah, absolutely. And more so now than ever, because, if you want to grow a successful business, the business is really a reflection of you. So if you think that you're just going to grow a business to make a bunch of money, then you're not, you're going to get to the bunch of money and realize you didn't get anywhere, actually. And so is actually a first part of my program in the business transformation experience. I call it the journey of you, or joy, where I really focus on them dealing with with themselves and finding that new resonance so that they can find new passion, because that's generally a part of why their business isn't growing, because they're not really seeing the true potential and how they can bring a tremendous amount of value to a marketplace. They're looking at it from the scarcity lack side of things, saying, how can I make more money and grow this business for profit's sake? And it's like, well, everything that you get, money is just a secondary exchange for the value you deliver in a market. It's not the primary thing that drives markets. So once we make that shift, and that shift comes from within you, then it's a lot easier to grow a business when you've made that shift within the leadership of the business.
Got it. So, I just thought you were just a businessman, but no, you're also into happiness, just like me.
That's it. Yeah, it's everything. We can't. Yeah, it's everything.
I can just see these people looking deep in themselves, seeing oh yeah, that's why I started this business, and getting their joy back, and being excited about waking up again.
Yeah, it's so critical, because that's why, all of us as entrepreneurs, certainly it's exciting to have the freedom to make more money than a wage at a job or whatever. But really, it's generally the idea that I have some sort of skill set, or I understand how something works in a way that this market doesn't, and I can bring that value to them. That's generally what drives us early on in the business, like you said.
Mhm.
And then it's just over time we get caught up in like the numbers and analyzing things, and it's like, no, man, that's not where we resonate. It's like, let's resonate on how we drive more value. Like, let's look at the customers you already have and say, how do we bring more value to their life right now? How can we do that? And then we can take that and go out to a market that, to the same market that doesn't know you exist yet. And now you're already showing up with more value because you found ways to extend the value that you offer to your existing customers now. And just automatically your bank account will be full of money, which will just create new energetic flow. That's why it's called currency,
Mhm.
so that you can flow that money back out, make new investments, create new opportunities in the marketplace, hire new people, bring abundance into their life, right? So that's how this energetic flow works, but it starts with you, right?
Yeah. So, are there any personal practices that you have to keep your mind in that mindset?
Yeah, I mean, and it really goes hand in hand with what I teach around energetics, because I think that what we've been taught is that we're supposed to wake up in the morning with all this energy, and then we're supposed to, use that energy until our head hits the pillow and we're just completely exhausted at night, and that's why we get a good night's rest. And that's just absolutely not the case. That's not really supposed to be how it's supposed to work at all. We're supposed to be building our energy and then holding on to it, and only using it by putting the energy and the emotion, the intention into the things that we want to create in reality. We're not just in a meat suit that's going to fall into a 6-foot hole after we're done with this thing. That's not how this works, right?
Hmm.
So,
Although
I
that's how
really,
it feels sometimes.
it
Just
does, right? The machine wants you to feel like that, right? And so I really focus a lot on building energy, and I use that, and I kind of stack it, right? So I've done all types of levels of cleansing and different techniques to really figure out how do you raise your energy and then also hold on to that energy, so that when you go to bed at night, you actually still have plenty of energy. It doesn't mean that you can't sleep. It's not that kind of energy, but it means that you're not exhausted. You're going to bed, you're sleeping amazingly well because you've held on to your energy, and you wake up in the morning passionate about the creation that you can make in this reality and the opportunities that you have in front of you. And so some of the things that I highly recommend for people that are considering, kind of really making a shift in their energy is consider what I call a solid food vacation, and start using a juice feast or fast. So you're just drinking fresh juice, mostly fruit juice, that you fresh squeeze with your juicer. You do that for as long as you can do it. I mean, I'm on one right now. I'm on day 12.
wow.
I'm going to go probably at least 30 days, if not longer. People have gone over 100 days on juice. It just completely detoxes the body. It's absolutely delicious, and it blows open your consciousness like you've never experienced. So that one tool alone can be, highly effective. Then I stack that with sun gazing. When I can sunbathe and lay in the sun, I do that. I drink structured water. I'll use infrared sauna if I can.
Mhm.
All kinds of techniques to really raise the energetic. I'm always earthing or walking with my bare feet on the ground. So these are all techniques. Get into Mother Nature. I mean, you got to strike a balance, right? We were kind of, especially in the business world, just like go, go, go. Eventually, you're just gonna, in the future, you're gonna have all these wonderful things, but you need to work your ass off now. That, like, none of that is true. It's complete nonsense. So you have to strike a balance all the time. But yeah, I try to, on a daily basis. I'm in Mother Nature. I'm walking with my bare feet. I'm getting the sun on my face. I was out paddleboarding today on the lake. It was awesome. I'm juicing. I'm, drinking structured water. I'm keeping clean water. I haven't eaten meat for several years now. So, it's really about just, doing things that should be feel natural, but because of our programming, they're not really natural, and people think they're kind of weird sometimes.
So you're definitely taking some time for yourself. So how do you structure your day? Obviously, you're not doing 12-hour work days.
Not even close.
No. So how
Yeah.
do you structure your day?
Well, I mean, I think that what I try and do is I get up in the morning and I try to get into Mother Nature as quickly as I can because I want to set the tone for my day. Sometimes I'll do yoga in the mornings. I'm really just trying to set an energetic tone in the morning. And so any way that you can do that, even if it's only for 10 minutes or whatever, just walking outside, get that morning sun on your face, or go take your dog for a walk, like that can be a huge step towards shifting your entire day's energetic potential. Because if you just wake up, roll over, and we've all been, we've all done this. We roll over, we're checking our phone the minute we wake up, and now we're off distracted into 1,000 things that we're supposed to go do today. You basically just created this frequency or vibration that's going to play out through your whole day. But if you can wake up, take the steps that serve you, serve yourself first, go outside, breathe in some deep breaths, get some sun in your face, then you're going to set the stage for an amazing day. And then from there, I size things up. What does my day look like? What have I committed to on this day, right? I'm looking at my calendar and I'm communicating with my various teams and different businesses to see where my responsibilities are and what I've committed to, and the things that I can help them continue to move the balls forward. So I mean, that's a simple way of putting it, but I generally am working, and the thing is that the work that I do, when you get to this resonance, like I only do work that I resonate with. It's like a lot of fun for me. So a lot of people will see like, oh, you have all these businesses, must be just exhausting. Like, no, it's actually a ton of fun. And I've built teams that help me grow those businesses. So I don't really see it as work. So sometimes I can put a lot of hours in and actually I'm working on various things, but I'm excited about that. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I have to do all this work. It's so stressful. It's not like that at all. Whereas other days I might only put in a couple hours because I've got other personal things I'm doing, or I'm moving around, or whatever the case may be. And that's okay too, because I have great teams that are helping me do that. And that's the beauty, is like, this isn't about trying to do it all yourself. And sometimes in the early stages, you have to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. But over time, you really want to be saying, hey, maybe I'm starting to make some money. How can I reinvest that into the mission, which is delivering value in my marketplace, and find somebody that can help me, that aligns with this mission that we're trying to deliver this value, and can help me continue to accelerate the growth of my business. So I really am a big fan of building teams from all over the world. I mean, I have people that Pakistan, the Philippines, Panama, helping me grow various businesses. So it's a fun adventure. I don't really see work the way I did years ago, where it was this grind that one day I'm going to have the big mansion and I'm going to have all the material things and it's going to be beautiful. So I'm just going to grind it out for 12, 14-hour days. We've all done that. It's not necessary at all.
Yep, I did that early on too. So it sounds like you get up, you get yourself grounded, you get yourself ready for the day. But what happens when you walk into work or into a negotiation or even with your family, and the other people aren't so happy? And they want to knock you off that joy horse.
they try sometimes, right? They're testing you. And it's funny you say that, because at different levels. So when you start this process and you start taking some of these steps that I'm talking about, what I call the game of life, it likes to test you and see, oh, okay, I see you're raising your frequency and vibration, and you're in the flow. Let's see what happens when we give you this, right? And I think that's the test, right? I think if we're aware of the fact that these tests will come into our reality in different ways, both in our personal lives as well as in business situations, that the sooner we can sort of almost like stay in observation mode. Instead of reacting, we're just responding, right? Because we're naturally like, no, that's not the way I wanted it done. And this is, this, and, you said you were going to do it this way. You're talking about business negotiations, like you walk into a meeting and, what you think is going to play out then does it. And then you're reacting emotionally to the situation rather than responding as the observer, saying, okay, I can see your perspective. Here's what I was thinking, right? So that's the key, is like you need to stay the observer in your life and see that life is like a screen, and you're observing that silver lining, the screen that we call reality, and be responding to it in a way that takes in consideration everything, as opposed to emotionally reacting to the particular situation. And then in the end, what happens is things play out in your favor, right? Because you didn't fall off the frequency, basically, right? When you hold the frequency and you're just the observer and you're saying, oh, okay, yeah, let's work through that challenge, and let's look at it. We can find a solution. We can do this together, right? Then things will play out for you. And what happens is, over time, as you get better at that, each scenario actually gets more in your favor. Like, more abundance will start showing up in your life without that resistance, because you're holding that frequency and you're being considerate of others, because others are just basically other versions of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful. Yes. And what you're talking about definitely takes some practice.
It does. There's a lot of decades of programming that says we should react to all this stuff, right?
Exactly. So you talked about teams earlier. How do you choose someone to be on your team? How do you put together a team that's going to work together, that is harmonious?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, no, that's also not always an easy task, but it really starts with what I call setting up a one big objective. Okay, a lot of businesses, they have a mission statement or a vision statement that they kind of wrote up at the beginning. They heard that that's an important thing to do when you start a business. But it ends up like on the website on a page no one visits, or it ends up in a desk drawer collecting dust and no one ever reads it again once it's written. What I like to do is help business owners create what I call the one big objective, which is basically one or two sentences that holds true to that business and what you're trying to accomplish, so that even from 10 years from now, if you were to change all the products and services you were selling, that should still hold true, right? So you don't really want it to be like attached to the actual products and services. It's more about what the value is you want to bring to a market, or how you want to help people in a particular market, and keep it very simple. Because when you start with that and you want to attract others into your business to help you on that mission, one, you can show them and get them to align and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's one or two sentences that really wraps up what I'm trying to do. Is that something that aligns with you? If you can start there in the hiring process, then you're going to eliminate a lot of people that are like, no, it's like, I'm just trying to make some money. I don't even really care about that. You know what I mean? Or you'll get a sense, if you can start there with the conversation, then you're going to attract somebody that's really excited about being a part of that mission. And as long as there's enough energetic flow through payment of currency and money for them to be comfortable, then they're going to be even more passionate about coming to work and actually delivering a huge amount of value that helps you grow your mission. So I know I kind of said that in a simple way, and I love to use, platforms like Upwork, and, there's endless places, Craigslist, there's even now we got Facebook Jobs. There's endless platforms to find great people. But I think the key is really showing up when you want to build a team, is showing up with a clear mission, what I call the one big objective, so that they can get in alignment with that energetically before they decide whether they can, be a good fit for your team.
Exactly. And when I think about like larger companies where, for example, let's just say Amazon. So they have these people, there's people who are pickers, putting all the orders together. There's people shipping it out, and there's, mostly people coming in and they just want a paycheck.
Right.
But how do you disseminate that through the ranks so that everybody feels like they're a part of the whole?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I focus on teaching business owners that, hey, this idea of you sitting at the head of the table, that's old news. Like, this is a round table. You want everybody involved. You want the janitor sitting at that table, right? This is not about labels and who knows what, and who's smarter than who, and who gets paid more than the other person, because the janitor probably knows more than half the people in the business because of the things that they're always observing in a different perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's really the critical part, is making sure that every element of your business has a position at the table. And if the person at one level wants to tell the CEO something, there's nothing in the way of them doing that, because the value that they can bring, because again, if we're focused on one mission and it's not the paycheck, it's to actually bring this particular value to a marketplace, then I want to hear from everybody. I want to make sure that when we have a meeting, the key players that, can give me feedback to help me reflect that back, and hey, that's going to help me decide where we allocate dollars and resources in the business, because we're hearing that customers are having challenges over here, or we're hearing that great things are happening from this program over here. I like to make sure that business owners really look at every employee or everybody that's helping them in the business as a partner of sorts, and rather than having them as just task takers. Because if you give out tasks without meaning, well, then they're going to just finish the task without meaning too. You can't, give people things to do with this grandiose idea in your mind, but you didn't pass on the actual reason why you're asking them to do it. But if you can give them the reasons and why you want that stuff done, because it's so meaningful to the end result of delivering value, now they're going to have a deeper reason for completing the task that you've given them, and know that they're contributing to the greater whole of the total experience that your customers are going to have with working with the business. So that's a big part of what I teach, and how I help people, start to bring more. Because here's the thing, a lot of times what's on the resume is not actually our uniqueness, right? So a lot of people that get hired to do specific things, they can bring so much more value to the table. It's just that you only went off the resume. But and a lot of times those skills are not recognized by the individual themselves. They don't even know they have those skills, right? It's not until you get them into a work environment, everybody that works with them is like, oh my God, you're the best at this and that, this and that. And then they sort of step into their own uniqueness, like, I guess I am good at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you can have that round table type effect, where, I mean, the beauty is we can all, as we are now, like we're all getting on Zoom calls all the time, now you can bring so many more people into the round table and have them share their uniqueness and identify each other's uniqueness. Make that a part of the process, saying like, hey, who's good at this? We need somebody for this piece, because even though this person is in that particular role, they may not be that great at it. They might be great at something else, right? So I think it's important that, hey, maybe the resume helps us get into a position because we resonate with that one big objective, and we have certain skills that the business thinks they need. But in that development of each individual, there's opportunities to really step fully into that uniqueness, and the business itself and the customers that get value from that business can actually receive a lot of benefit from people actually being able to share their uniqueness inside the business. So it's important that as business leaders, we continue to develop that and give the people that work for the business an opportunity to not only express it, but also the coworkers to express what they observe of other people, because a lot of people have a lot of skills that are hidden within them that don't show themselves on the resume.
That's right. And I love that whole concept, because each person has those gifts and they get to share them, and then you want to go to work.
Yeah,
Appreciated
exactly.
and needed, and that is wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
when you were talking about, the groups and getting on Zoom, I was thinking about a lot of times in like a corporate environment, it seems like there's some people that they're in meetings all day long. So meeting versus action. Okay. So how many meetings do we need? And I know you're helping people go from 6 to 7 figures and from 7 to 8 figures. So you don't do that by having meetings and just discussing. No. So talk about that.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? And because the meetings are, and more and more, and there's lots of books on this now, but it's like meetings have, it's sort of like, people have moved towards, these techniques like Scrum and stand-up meetings and all this stuff, because we can sit around and talk about stuff all the time. We need to sort of use a strategic format of the meeting, so that we can, extract as much value and focus on the items we really need to cover, because we really need to get back to serving our market, not sitting in meetings all day, right? Yes, there's clearly value in getting together and sharing. I mean, that's evident with any community, and that's why even this whole thing with lockdowns and masks and all this stuff is really challenging for the human psyche. But I think in business, it's really important that we only set meetings that we think, that to a minimum, right? It's like, make sure that the tools are in place, whether it be a shared spreadsheet or another way for people to share their uniqueness without the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and empower your people. Because a lot of times meetings are a place where it's like delegating, like, yeah, you can do that and that's fine, I approve that and all that. Like, no, I always like to let people say, well, what's the, before you come and ask your next level person up what to do, come up with three, of the best solutions in your mind, and try and choose one of those. And if you can't choose one because it's just too, you're not sure, and it's it's such an important decision, then you can ask, your team member what to do in that situation. But sort of empowering your people to say, I trust you, I think you do know what to do, but I'm giving you this particular format. Choose the best three versions, best three, things that you think would be potentially the right answer, the way that I might answer that question you're about to ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving you the permission to choose the best one. And if you can't, then you can ask. But and then that makes those meetings much more impactful without having to have, like you said, back-to-back meetings, because we need to stay in action. And meetings generally are more decision-based stuff to make sure that we're all on the same sort of energetic momentum. And we need to, minimize those meetings so that we can get back to action, basically.
Beautiful. So I want to go back to a personal question. So for you, what gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life?
It's this kind of interaction, right? So whether it's talking to someone like yourself who's given me the opportunity to share your platform and express some of the things that I see that can really help folks, step into the greatness of this experience we call life.
Mm-hmm.
Or just working with business owners, both one-on-one and in group setting, that energetic that gets reflected back to me just fills my heart. I mean, I have several businesses that do very well, and so, I don't really need to be chasing. I don't need to be doing that work for the sake of creating more abundance in my life, but it fills my heart with joy to be able to see that, other entrepreneurs are trying to accomplish something in their market, and if I can have an impact on that in some way, that really brings all the passion to me. And I can talk and do this stuff all day long and never run out of energy. So that tells me that it's something that really resonates with me.
So yeah, I noticed that. I noticed your energy for sure. So if people wanted to work with you or find out where your Facebook page is, why don't you tell people how to find you?
Sure, absolutely. So I just started a Facebook group that's completely free. It's for entrepreneurs, business owners, and people that are considering starting a new business. It's called Business Acceleration Secrets. And from there, my team and I will be sharing great content, but we'll also give you an opportunity to come into my business transformation experience mastermind environment. And that's a group coaching environment. It's currently $2,500 a quarter, and then later on this year we're going to do a resort retreat in Costa Rica as well. So that's the easiest way, is to come into the free Facebook group, and you can also come directly to 8020business.com and set up a free strategy call with me as well. So,
Is that 80/20?
yeah, 8020business.com.
Okay. I'll make sure and put that in the show notes so people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing
Thanks
all
for
your
having me.
knowledge.
Yeah.
It has been beautiful.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So, one last question. What's your best advice for having an incredible, amazing life?
Do what feels good next.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
that's it.
All right. Well, we'll end on that. So, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.